Well, we have an axis of evil in the House of Commons that bestrides both sides of the House. You couldn't slip sixpence between the position of the British government and the British opposition on foreign policy in general, on the Middle East in particular, on Gaza, or frankly on many other matters. They fight a culture war here and there against each other over pronouns and the like, but actually on material issues of substance, they are a uni-party, or as I put it, two cheeks of the same backside. Well, they got a good spanking, both of them, in the by-election that I won very recently, and they haven't taken it well. They have begun to try and lay the groundwork for turning the forthcoming general election into a war against Muslims, a war against what they call extremism, although they're never able to identify who the extremists are. They're never able to point to examples of the extremism. The nearest they get is talking about the weekly, almost nightly, Palestine protests and demonstrations over the slaughter in Gaza. But their problem there is the vast majority of the people on those demonstrations are not Muslim. They are white English people, Scottish people, Welsh, Irish people. And so I'm not sure that will survive a great deal of contact with reality either. But they are filling the airwaves with anti-Muslim rhetoric. And that must be for a reason. Well, obviously, Netanyahu doesn't take orders even from Biden, never mind from Sunak. So the best thing we can do is disengage from it entirely. David Cameron, the Foreign Secretary, unelected, Lord Cameron now, who once described Gaza as the largest open-air prison in the world, and he was Prime Minister then, is still pursuing a policy of punishing the people of that largest open-air prison for breaking out of it on October the 7th. However, even he has let it be known today on the BBC that his patience, as he put it, is wearing thin. So now we know the limits of his patience. 120,000 people dead, wounded, missing under the rubble. That's a very high price to pay to lose his patience. Well, they'd have a great difficulty in doing that because just this very day, 5 special forces of the United Kingdom, on their return to London, have been arrested on war crimes charges, and murder charges are being contemplated by the prosecutorial authorities. So it turns out we have special forces, 5 of them accused of war crimes, who were in Syria without anyone knowing. The parliament didn't know, the people didn't know, nobody agreed it, but they were sent there, and we don't know what numbers were there, but 5 of them have come back and been placed in irons. So the fact that the Germans say similarly we are present in Ukraine will come as a surprise to nobody at all. This is a lost war. It's a lost cause. Even my old mother, aged 89, used to say, stop throwing good money after bad. Stop reinforcing failure. The NATO war against Russia, using the bodies of the poor Ukrainian people, has failed. Russia's not going to be broken up. It's not going to be regime changed. It has prevailed. It's time to accept that and move on. Well, yes, even Tony Blair, sought parliamentary approval before invading and occupying Iraq. And a significant number of members, too little, too late, opposed that invasion of Iraq. And we assumed that the new constitutional dispensation in Britain was that we would not enter other people's wars without parliamentary approval. Even David Cameron asked for parliamentary approval and was refused when he wanted to bomb Syria in 2014, I think it was. I was one of those who blocked him, who spoke in the debate and won the vote. So from then until now, we now have a situation where multiple evidences emerge that British forces are involved in other people's wars without Parliament even being told, never mind consulted. Well, he does have a Bonaparte complex, although Napoleon was a far greater man than he. He's more Louis the 16th, sitting on his golden throne in Versailles, ordering imaginary armies around in other people's countries. He's a fantasist. French power against Russia would be, a comedy turn. They've been driven out of African country after African country just in the last 12 months, been given their marching orders and booted out. So they can't fight, Niger, but they can fight Russia? Seriously? Well, I'm getting on a little bit. Look on me as Cristiano Ronaldo agreeing to sign a 5-year contract with Rochdale. I'm trying to save that football team, by the way, so if anyone watching this wants to invest in a football team, contact me. The truth is the general election will either be in May or in October. Most people, the bookmakers certainly, think that today's budget makes October more likely than May. But whenever it comes, I'll be fighting to defend the seat I've won with high hopes of success. But you're right to allude to the fact that this breakthrough that we had in Rochdale is far more significant than merely one constituency. There are hundreds of people queuing up, literally hundreds, to stand for us at the general election, even though they'll have to pay their own expenses in that campaign because we're too small to do that. We will be fighting against Labour in particular in hundreds of places. And in those places, we will either win or we'll cause Starmer to lose. And that's our job. The Workers' Party ambition is to replace Labour. So for anyone who says, well, Labour is the lesser of two evils, I answer in 2 words: Joe Biden. The idea that you should vote for the lesser of two evils, first of all, ensures that evil will always win, and secondly, presupposes you can identify which is the lesser of two evils. I'm an admirer greatly of Malcolm X, who said, when the wolf comes towards you, you know what its intentions are, but the fox appears to be smiling, though its intentions are exactly the same. We see Joe Biden as the fox, Donald Trump as the wolf. We see Keir Starmer as the fox and Rishi Sunak as the wolf. Yes, there's a huge hemorrhage of support for Labour amongst millions of people who've always voted for them. And that has to be significant, has to be electorally important. If you have 2 million, 3 million people who always voted for you, who then do not, then that affects the arithmetic of scores and scores of parliamentary contests at the general election. It will cause seats to change hands. It will cause new people to be elected, Workers' Party, Independent. It will affect the outcome of the British general election very profoundly. But I want to stress this point. Although Gaza is the proximate cause of this, the straw that broke the camel's back, if you like, it doesn't depend on Gaza. If you were in my seat in the budget today, you would have seen a Conservative Chancellor of the Exchequer adumbrate neoliberal economic policies and the Labour opposition endorsing and adopting all of the same language, all of the same policies. There's no difference between these two cheeks of the same backside. They both deserve a good kicking.